Howdy, y'all. It's about 12 o'clock. We are going to call to open the SRWA meeting. We are here in the BPUB Annex Building. Can I have confirmation of a quorum? Yep, thank you. Do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
You never do. Okay. We'll move on to open the meeting. And so first action item is consideration and possible action on approval of the March 2nd, 2026 Southmost Regional Water Authority Board meeting minutes.
Motion, Mr. President.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Second item, the general manager's report.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I was wondering if I can change things up a little bit for you all, since this is your second official meeting. Before we get into the actual reports on the agenda, would you like for us to introduce staff that is present so that way you get names and change and stuff, or do you just want to stick to the agenda that's here?
I mean, I think introducing folks
That'd
would
be
be
great.
pretty good, yeah.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
with that in mind, so then that way, if those of you who have, and my apologies for that, we can introduce everybody who's here. And if you're here, can you, one by one, can you come to the podium so that way they can hear your name and your title? So we'll start, I guess, that way from at the far end, with Norma.
Good afternoon. I'm Norma Sanchez, and I'm the Senior Executive Secretary for the GM's Department.
Okay. And I guess if you have a mic, start lining up so we can go a little bit quicker. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Constanza Miner, and I am the Chief Administrative Officer for BPUB.
Good afternoon. My name is David Medrano. I serve as Director of Finance for BPUB.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
David Medrano.
Good afternoon. I'm Yolanda Galarza, Executive Assistant for Mr. Dombrowski's office.
Hello, good afternoon. Melissa Rivera, Senior Administrative Assistant. I'm at Southmost Regional Water Authority Plant.
Daniela Maldonado, Audiovisual Support Specialist.
Ernesto Estrada, IT Support.
Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager.
Jose Armando Garza, Water Treatment Manager for SRWA and BPUB.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacob Galvan. I'm the Chief Operator for SRWA.
Yeah, hello. Rene Mariscal, Acting Division Manager for Operations.
Juan de Gollado, Foreman for the Resaca Maintenance Department, but also Interim Manager for both Resaca Maintenance and the Raw Water Supply Department.
I'm Flores, Water Resources Administrator.
Good afternoon, Marie Leal. I'm the Director of Water, Wastewater Engineering and Capital Planning.
And thank you for that. I thought it would be a good introduction for the various different staff members, and since we have new board members and things throughout the various different months to come. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have introduced the people here. I think everybody knows to my right.
Mark Dombrowski, I'm the Chief Operating Officer.
And Paul Gonzalez, General Counsel to BPUB and Chief Legal Officer.
Okay, thank you. So from the executive team, we typically are the ones that are here at every single board meeting. Sometimes we alternate on the various things. The rest of the staff, our support staff, they'll be presenting various different topics, or they're the staff that prepares the various reports that you see here in case there's any detailed questions on the various things. And with that, we'll go into the General Manager's report, and I'm Marilyn Gilbert, the General Manager for the Brownsville Public Utilities Board, and also dual hat for the SRWA, the Secretary for the board. And now we will have Mr. Galvan present the operational report.
Hello, Mr. President, members of the board. I'll be presenting the production distribution report for the month ended February 28, 2026. On tab 2 of your board binders, we'll start with the SRWA water distribution summary and true-up estimate. On the third column on the left, we'll start with column C, the SRWA total distribution. The year-to-date is 1,050.38 million gallons for a daily average of 6.956 million gallons. On column F, we have the distribution for BPUB. The year-to-date is 980.315 million gallons for a daily average of 6.492 million gallons. On column G, we have the distribution for Valley Mud number 2. The year-to-date is 27.576 million gallons for a daily average of 0.183 million gallons. On column H, we have the distribution for Los Fresnos. The year-to-date is 18.33 million gallons for a daily average of 0.121 million gallons. On column I, we have the credit for B&D. The year-to-date is 22.0158 million gallons for a daily average of 0.146 million gallons. On column J, we have the allocation for Indian Lake. The year-to-date is 2.101 million gallons for a daily average of 0.014 million gallons. Below, we have the true-up estimate, where BPUB is over by 4.41 million gallons. VMUD number 2 is over by 1.21 million gallons, and the city of Los Fresnos is under by 5.62 million gallons. On the next page, we have the production distribution report for the month of February 2026. On the column, the third column from the left, we have the SRWA total water produced. The total for the month was 195.951 million gallons for a daily average of 6.998 million gallons. On the first column to the right, we have the total water distributed. The total for the month was 195.724 million gallons for a daily average of 6.99 million gallons. Below, we have the chemical consumption costs for the month. The total was $109,914.52. And below that, we have the electrical consumption costs. The total was $97,003.56. On the next slide, we have events that reduce water production in the plant. For February 4th, we were down a total of 5 hours for a new service connection tie-in. And on February 11th, we were down for 4 hours for a power failure, which overhead crew found an open circuit nearby the facility. So for the total for the month was 9 hours. On the next slide, we have the iron, manganese, and arsenic analysis. February 13th, we ran the analysis. The chlorine dioxide, SBS, and ferric dosages remained the same, and results were all within the MCL levels.
Why did the detection minimums for iron change? I noticed that we went from .00379 to...
I'm not exactly sure. I should probably reach out to them for that reason. I do double check. I've seen that, like, I've seen most of the time it is 379, .00379, but I've seen every now and then where it's not that. So I can definitely reach out and ask why it's different, right? The detection level, right? But yeah, I double checked it. That's what it had.
Okay, and then we also had 7 ROs going, right? And so we expect 1.4 megagallons per RO of transmission through the plant. We didn't really have that number. Yeah, I don't know if we really hit. Yeah, so that's...
As far as like production, like the 7?
Because kind of my back of the envelope numbers suggest we should be getting about 7.84 megagallons after, accounting for the 25%.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it could be maybe when they grab them. I know also RO's G and H, RO's G and H will produce a little bit more than the other 3, so the other 6.
Do we know what those numbers are?
We do. I think it's like 1.1 MGD for G, and then another 1.1 for H.
Oh, okay, because the other ones are 1.4, so these guys are a little less than. Okay, got it.
Okay, on the next slide, we have the ROs and well pumps that were on at the time of collection. On this slide, we have the manganese graph. Yes,
Jacob, what's the time period that y'all use I don't understand, like at the top of the RO and well pump status, you
Those,
know, January 9th, January 23rd, and February 13th. Is
Right.
there a rhyme or reason to when y'all decide to post this status report, or?
these are what we're running at the time that our outside contractor, lab, this is the time those are the ones that are on while we collect those samples.
No rhyme or reason as to when you do it in the month?
No, we just try to collect it within the second or third week of the month.
We did in January do double collection because we
Right.
did an experiment to see if we could introduce the bypass again. So that is why you see 2 in January. But yeah, we're trying to hit once a month, and that's something we've been doing for the last 2 years now, I think.
Yeah,
about.
2 or 3 years now. Mhm.
And we're trying to, you know, get kind of a more formalized pattern going, so,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So on this graph here, on the next page, we have the arsenic levels, right? It's graphed at, with a 0.3 chlorine dioxide and ferric at one part. Here on the next page, we have a graph comparing water production and distribution for fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26.
It's crazy and yeah, not very important, but it's crazy that we see that significant drop. I think more than a day's worth of drop in February, more than 2 days worth of drop every year. Just kind of fun.
Yeah.
The manganese plot, every time I look at it, I mean, I have trouble saying that we shouldn't bring back our bypass. Yeah, it's way more expensive to operate this way. You know, we can introduce another well or two and I'll get back to you, but man, we need to bring back the bypass. It's too expensive to be, sitting on our hands and like, we're not introducing significantly more manganese with the bypass, the 5% especially. So, I think, maybe we should talk about that.
Sure. I guess we can have a discussion on with the team on moving forward. On the next page, we have the graphing comparing water plant production for Bronzo's 3 water plants, where you can see SRWA contributed with 31.43% of Bronzo's water demand. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the board. Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager. And I will go over selected pages of the financial report that is in your binder. At the end of, for the month of February 28, 2026, beginning with line number 2, we're going to be looking at the last column, operating revenues from member assessments, 3,246,402. We minus line number 10, total operating expenses of 2,611,017. This results in operating income of 635,385. On the following page, and on this page, I want to apologize on your copy of the presentation that you have. I think it's missing a page, but that information is on page 21 of 194. My apologies for that. So continuing on this slide, non-operating revenues and expenses, we add line number 18, net non-operating revenues of 68,926. And this results in the income before capital contributions of 704,311. This is the same amount as the change in net position. So we add this amount to the net position at the beginning of the year on line 22, and this results in net position at the end of February 2026 of 27,593,046. The last 2 pages, this is the budget and actuals by expense type. Looking at the last column A, that's the annual budget, the grand total, the total budget for the year, 5,495,984. Column C, those are the year-to-date actuals, 2,047,404. And column G, that's the budget balance at the end of February, of 3,448,580. Any questions?
Jorge?
Yes, sir.
On this page here, you have them grouped by accounts. On the previous page, you have materials and supplies, all the 7,200 accounts together. Then you had the 7,500 accounts, but then you bunch them all up on this page. Is there a way to separate those and total them on the next month?
Yes, this is by how our accounting system classifies them.
I understand.
So on this page, all those accounts, they're classified under that specific, but we can try to perhaps classify them, perhaps all the services under certain category and then others under, narrow it down.
Right. Because somewhere else in the report, you do have them separated by type, I believe it is.
Okay. We'll definitely take a look at it and provide that information.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the drought update. Mr. Jaime Flores will be presenting, our Water Resource Administrator.
Hello, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Jaime Flores. I'll be giving you, Water Resource Administrator, I'll be giving you the drought update. U.S. combined ownership at Amistad and Falcon reservoirs as of March 21st, 2026 is 26.2%. As you look back, February 28th, 2026, we had 27.2%. On March 7th, 2026, 26.8%. March 14th, 26.6%. So we can see definitely a clear pattern developing. It doesn't look good right now. National Weather Service April to June 2026 outlook for the Lower Rio Grande Valley, Deep South Texas region. Warmer than normal temperatures are expected to persist during the April through June 2026 period. Equal chances for above normal, normal, or drier than normal precipitation during the April to June 2026 timeframe. Precipitation confidence is low to medium at 33%. Falcon International Reservoir remained near historic seasonal lows at the end of March, and confidence remains near certain, almost 100% on total reservoir storage, remaining just above record lows through June. Water supply restrictions will continue for some and could be needed for others as we move into the spring season. And given equal chances for a wetter or drier pattern developing, there's a possibility of drought conditions continuing over at least parts of the entire region. Depending on how the precipitation patterns evolve, it may take some time for places for drought dryness conditions to fade. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Jose Armando Garza, and I'm the Water Treatment Manager. I'm going to be going over an overview of SRWA's operations, so feel free to ask any questions as we can go along. And we're going to cover going to a background, aquifer storage, our wells, the brackish groundwater desalination, the construction and treatment process. We're going to cover a cost summary and Brownsville's water supply. As you may know, SRWA is a conservation and reclamation district, and these are its partners. Brownsville PUB with 92.91% of the share, Valley Mud number 2 with 2.51%, the City of Los Fresnos with 2.28%, and the Brownsville Navigation District with 2.1%. This is a chart we get from the IBWC, and this is where we track the dams, the water that we have in our reservoirs. And if you see from the beginning of this chart, back in the late 1990s, early 2000s, we were in not such a good shape as far as our water in our reservoirs. And that's when the idea and the construction of this plant happened. That's when, you know, the entity was revived and construction started to happen. Construction of the SRWA was concluded in 2004, and as you can see, by 2004 we had our reservoirs almost full. But still, we have an alternative supply of water with SRWA. And jumping over 20-some years to 2026, as you can see, our levels are back to the 20s as far as water in the reservoirs. These are just pictures from back then. One of the big issues with basically no flow in the river, that we have a lot of vegetation growing up, hydrilla, water hyacinth. This vegetation was actually plugging or pumping from the river into our reservoirs, so it was creating a big problem. And also there was no water in the river. I remember one time Matamoros called us asking us to stop our pumping because our pumping is ahead of theirs, because they had no water for their citizens. So we actually shut down for about 12 hours in order to allow them to get some water. So it was critical. In this chart, we have our water rights. BPUB owns 31,966 acre-feet of water, and we utilize around 19,000. If it was not because of SRWA, we would have been up there very close to the blue line, because SRWA does saves a lot of water that we don't take from the river, right? And this chart was provided to us by our hydrologists. And the first bar is showing us the total water used in Texas, which is 16 million acre-feet. And the second bar is the total water that all the surface lakes hold, and that's like 31 million acre-feet. And then the next bar is what the Gulf Coast Aquifer, Rio Grande alluvium, is estimated to have, which is 132 million acre-feet of water. And the last bar, that's an estimation, according to our hydrologists, that if we were to be pumping 15 million gallons per day from this aquifer, after 50 years, we would decrease it by 0.04%. So
this is also assuming that we don't recharge the aquifer, naturally.
Correct, and also assuming that there's no more entities are going to be putting a straw into our area, bringing more water, of course. One thing is having the water, another thing is taking the water out, right? That's a different challenge. Just because the water is there, keep in mind that our pumps have been pumping continuously for 22 years. So the area around the well loses its transmissivity, so it's getting harder and harder for that water to make it to the well. In this slide, we have pictures of our well field. As you know, we have 20 wells to the west side of Rancho Viejo, and that's what we have 20 of those buildings, and that's how a well looks in the inside. Our pumps and motors are actually like 280 feet below ground level. I know last time there was a question as far as doing preventive maintenance to these pumps and motors. As you can see, there's not much as far as checking the oil, stuff like that. There are sealed pumps and motors, but some of the maintenance that we do consist of basically checking the amperage. The amperage is going to tell us whether the pump is going bad, is good, and also the pumping level, the flows. We do have a flow meter. We monitor the flow meter to make sure it is a flow meter, the same flow that it was giving us a year before. So we monitor those things.
Do we record that data?
We do record that data, yes.
Okay. Oh, but that's on that handwritten log. I think I've seen one of them.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not electronic anywhere?
It's not in our SCADA, no. Yeah. Phase one, it was, like I say, it was constructed back in 2004 with an original capacity of 7.5 million gallons per day. If you do the 7.5 million gallons per day, that's equivalent to 8,400 acre feet of water that we are saving, that we are not taking from the river. And if we would have went out into the market and purchased those 8,400 acre feet, it would have cost us $17 million back then. The reverse osmosis is basically the heart of our plant. There's 8 trains. This is a two-pass system. In total, we have 1,848 membranes, which this is a 75% recovery system, which means that for every gallon that we get from the wells, we recovers 3 quarts as clean water, and the other quart is disposed without a concentrate. The TDS comes into these membranes around 3,700, and then we concentrate it up to 12,000, and that's what we are discharging into our ditch, and that makes it eventually goes into the San Martin Lake, which is a super saline body of water. I believe it's like in the 35 to 40,000 TDS, so we're actually diluting some of the TDS. Phase 2 came along in 2006, and that's because EPA reduced the arsenic levels in drinking water from 50 parts per billion down to 10. So we were two years in the operations, and suddenly the rules changed on us. So our well water had like an arsenic level of about 23, and we initially were thinking that the reverse osmosis was going to remove most of it, but that was not the case. It was only removing like 50% of the arsenic, so we were ending up with like 11, 12 parts per billion, just over the new limit. So that's when we needed to improve on that or treat for that specifically. So the microfiltration ahead of the RO came online. And at the same time, we kind of expanded the plant with an additional 2 trains of ROs. This project cost $13 million. We got $9.2 million from no interest from the Texas Water Development Board, and $3.7 million low interest again from the Texas Water Development Board. The total construction cost, it was $11.6 million. Construction started back in May 2013, and it was completed in 2015. The SRWA was built with the idea of expansion. If you can see there in the middle, where the building is, there's a space towards the back, and with the idea of just mimicking what we have in front and just mirroring what we have, so that we can expand maybe up to 22 million gallons per day in the future. It would be a matter of adding more microfiltration racks, more RO trains, and of course more wells at the well field. This is a schematic of the process. We're starting from the wells. We inject a chemical in front of the microfiltration. We inject a chlorine dioxide and a ferric chloride. And then we pass it through the microfiltration to remove the arsenic and iron in the water. If you see the water coming out of the microfiltration, it's split into 2 streams. One that makes it over to the reverse osmosis, and the other one through the blend line. I want to focus on the blend line for now, because that's what Mr. Holman was saying, that we cannot be without water. I agree. It makes the water more expensive because we need chemicals to stabilize the water. Because the water coming out of the RO is so clean that it's too aggressive for us to put it out in the lines. If we put that aggressive water in the lines, it's going to create corrosion in the lines. It's going to give us issues, so we need to stabilize that water. And right now, we're stabilizing it just with chemicals. That's why our calcium especially went out. We're dosing a lot more of that. But from all the minerals that we are removing, there's one mineral that is giving us issues, which is the manganese. Even at very low levels, levels that are way below the TCQ standards, we're noticing that those small levels of manganese, once it gets in our system, they start to settle in the lines. If we were to measure the water leaving the plant, we wouldn't even measure it. I mean, it's very, very low. But those traces are settling in the lines that when something happens, like a line break, and the velocity in the line increases, we're gonna have issues. What we're trying to do right now is limit those traces that we can't even actually measure in order for us to prevent those issues.
I've actually done the calculation. It's in the tens of milligrams per day that is going through the plant.
Correct. So, and the other line goes into the reverse osmosis, and the reverse osmosis removes all the minerals, right? So the water coming out of the ROs is like in the 100 TDS, and the yellow water goes into the concentrate, which we already touched base on that. Then the water goes into our degasifiers, releases any gases that it may have into our water storage tank and into the distribution system.
So just a quick question. You have the water come out here, it goes into the microfiltration, and then hits the ROs. Let's ignore the bypass for right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we have more water than the ROs can handle, this is where we dump it to the stream?
Right. Each of the ROs requires 1.4 million.
Or 1.1 for
1.4, no.
GNH?
No, it's like 1.5 for GNH. The input is 1.4, and the output, that's a 1 million or 1.1.
Oh, okay, so the conversion efficiency
Yes,
is just...
yes, the 25% recovery. Any other questions?
Mr. Garza, so is there a solution for the settling of the manganese? Do we need, is a flow increase? So what's the end game?
Yeah, there's a technology, filters, different sand filters, even a microfiltration. And I was, let's say that during the expansion, and this is an idea that I have, I'm just gonna share it. In expansion, let's say we add another train of microfiltration, and for that specific train, just for the blend, we can increase the chlorine dioxide to a higher level that we're actually going to be able to remove the manganese. Right now, we don't do it because if we increase a high level of chlorine dioxide in the water going through the microfiltration, that water is going to go through the membrane and it's going to burn the membrane because membranes are not chlorine tolerant. But if we put a new microfiltration system, add the chlorine dioxide high enough, and that water coming out of that microfiltration is never going to touch the membranes, I think that would be a way of doing it. And there's other ways. But I think we're engaging an engineering firm to help us look into that.
Actually, it might be good, since we have so many new board members, to revisit that optimization that I think it was Half and Associates did a few months ago, where we were going to change how we dose the water from chlorine dioxide to something slightly different that has a quicker settling time.
Correct. We've been speaking with Half and Associates, who has some expertise in this area. The optimization study was done about
Yeah, I called it
2
the
years ago.
optimization
Correct.
study.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
I was wrong. But yeah, so might be good just to revisit some of those results for us.
We can do it. There's 4 or 5 options. You know, like anything else, some cost more, some cost less, capital versus O&M, and the degree of efficiency. So we can walk through those examples for you, some of the decisions we have.
The current one that we've tried, and actually worked, but we didn't get the output we wanted, so we're going to revisit, but was to actually select the wells that we turn on based off the manganese output. And, yeah, that worked pretty well. There were some slight things we had to adjust, and so we're going to go back, and I think we should try it again with these couple more wells included.
I think it can be done, but it's gonna reduce the capacity of the plant.
Well, I mean, I think if we add one or two more wells,
Yeah.
to account for the RO filters, having that limited capacity, I think maybe we'll get past that. But I have that, I'll email you.
Yeah, okay.
So I know this is a simplified PFD, or process flow diagram, not really like full P&IDs. So let me know, is there capacity to, you talked about well selection, but select the wells so that you're sending through microfiltration certain wells in one train versus a different train for other wells, and then separate those first, that first train to go through the RO membranes, and then that second train possibly of low manganese wells to go through the blending bypass line? Like, is that a possibility, or is it all going through common lines and you can't separate out?
It's a common header, yes.
Yeah, just based off the distance, they all combine kind of way upstream and then come in. Have you gentlemen seen the plant?
No.
Oh, we should figure out a
We should
tour,
schedule it.
because they do a great job at presenting some of that stuff. And just to see the hardware would be cool.
Okay, we'll continue.
We had an award-winning engineer raise her hand.
I was just going to add, we're in the process of obtaining a proposal from Half Associates, specifically to study the issue of manganese in our distribution system, and to answer Mr. Pace's question on how do you address the issues of the settlement in the pipes. And some of the conversations that we've already had with them is to
I think you need to speak into the microphone. I see a bunch of
you
wincing.
provide certain high pressures to clean out the lines. We work on sections of pipelines where you reverse the flows to dislodge all of the settlement in the lines. This will require working with our customers, or doing it at night and so forth, so that we can start off with as clean lines as we can. And indeed, if we implement an additional process, or whether it be green sand or whatever the study recommends. So possibly in the next month's meeting, we'll bring before you the proposal for their engineering services.
Also, I just realized and I should have asked earlier, we have had the report of discolored water, the reporting of drop off the agenda, but if we could bring that back, just so we can see and ensure that the trend is still staying low.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we checked on that, and for March, there were nine complaints, yeah.
Okay, which is still less than
right.
Last year, we were getting like 40 a month or something.
Correct, yeah. A cut summary of the plant's operations. Fiscal year 2025 O&M was $4.2 million. The plant distributed 2.5 billion gallons of water. The electrical cost was 24% of the O&M. The chemicals were 26% of the O&M. The plant has 11 full-time employees. The plant is manned 24/7 every day of the year. And the unit cost for O&M was $196 per 1,000 gallons. And if you take into account O&M, debt service, and the capital, it's $2.87 per 1,000 gallons. Benefits and challenges. Benefits that we have an alternate water supply. It's independent from the Rio Grande. We have savings due to the water rights savings. We produce high quality water, and it's modular in design. The challenges, it has been the arsenic in our water, the iron, and the manganese. Higher costs when you compare the cost of treating surface water. They're higher than that. We also have a discharge permit that is monitored by the TCEQ, and specialized training. The training is different from the conventional way of treating water, conventional plants. In fiscal year 2025, SRWA contributed with 31% of the water needs for Brownsville, and the average for Brownsville last year was 21 million gallons per day. That's all I have. Are there any more questions?
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garza.
We'll get on the agenda for next month, the requested item to discuss the manganese and chlorinations, past work and current status.
Sounds awesome. By the way, we did go to the city of Los Fresnos and present. I don't know if anybody else wanted a presentation to.
On what?
On what SRWA does, what our plans are, you know, for future expansion, and even what PUB is doing, and just so that, yeah, it might be useful for helping on planning.
Yeah, you did it when Commissioner Cowan was here, but I think we should go ahead and plan on the one for the board.
Yeah, okay.
I'll contract Mr. Dietrich to get on the agenda and let him know that with your support and copy you on that.
Thank you.
Is this bad news?
No,
Oh, okay,
not
okay.
bad news at all. I bring good news and glad tidings to all.
Oh, okay, so now we're moving on to the next item, which is election of officers for the Board of Directors of the Southmost Regional Water Authority.
So, again, welcome to new members. As a director or member of the board, each of you has a position that the Enabling Act defines. Technically, that has a start and end date, but you continue as long as you are a member of the governing body of the member organization, right? So you're a holdover, you keep on going, though every odd year, technically in May of the odd year, you get appointed for a 2-year term. That's as a director. The Enabling Act provides that the board can organize its business and elect officers. It doesn't say anything else other than you just elect amongst yourselves officers. The bylaws that were adopted back in 2017 identify who those officers are. They're the president, vice president, secretary, and the treasurer. By virtue of her office, Marilyn Gilbert serves this board as deputy secretary / treasurer because she's the CEO of the managing organization, right? So what we have today are 2 vacancies because we have 2 new members, and the people who were in office for VMUD 2 and for Los Fresnos were officers. And the bylaws do not specify how often or who becomes what officer. So this is being presented as in a way, housekeeping, because we have vacancies, but it's also to invite discussion amongst the board as to how best to continue and manage your own affairs. The president, under Article 3 of the bylaws, the president is the person who acts as the chief executive officer for SRWA and the presiding officer of the board. But the president can vote on any matter, right? So some boards, there's a restriction on who's running things. The vice president serves when and presides when the president is unwilling or unable to act, right, in the absence of the president. The treasurer is responsible through the deputy secretary / treasurer for managing funds of the authority. The secretary also is responsible through the deputy secretary or treasurer for managing records of the authority. There's no term of office that's specified in the bylaws. In fact, it says that An officer will continue to serve until his or her successor is elected. So there's nothing in the bylaws that says how often you guys choose from among yourselves your officers. Tag, you're it. Do you have any questions? The vacancies, specifically, Mr. Nelson had been vice president, and then Ms. Fernandez had been the treasurer most recently. The other positions are currently held as secretary. Mayor Chambers from the town of Indian Lake is the present secretary. And that's it. The president is Dr. Holman.
Okay, so we can't make up new titles, it sounds like. We have those 4. And we have 2 that are definitely empty. And then 1 that I guess is technically filled, but not really, since the town of Indian Lake has been to, I think, 1 meeting in the past 2 or 3 years.
Correct. Section 4.8 of the bylaws talks about absenteeism, but that's only in terms of directors. It doesn't speak about officers. That's again a board management, board decision, board definition type of thing. But what it says in general is if a director does not attend 3 consecutive meetings of the board or does not attend 6 meetings of the board during any 12-month period, and the absences are not excused by the president or the board may request the governing body of the member appointing the director to appoint another person to serve as director. That's all it says about absenteeism. Again, there's no term limit for officers per se.
Well, does anybody want to be an officer? Does anybody have thoughts? It's a low lift place, so yeah, whatever you.
Whatever everybody's comfortable with, I'm good also.
Okay, should we do rock, paper, scissors for this?
Again, there's no requirement. It's, in fact, let me go ahead and read to you the specific language in the enabling statute. Other than, actually it is a requirement. The board of directors shall elect from its members, this is from section 4A, shall elect from its members a president and a vice president of the authority and such other officers as in the judgment of the board are necessary. And it continues further in, the board shall also appoint a secretary and a treasurer who may or may not be members of the board, and it may combine such offices.
Oh, so we can appoint a non-board member. Oh, well, that just opened up a can of worms.
Right.
Okay, so the vice president position is a fairly low lift. I don't know if anybody, like, that seems like the one we have to solve. Anybody want to be a sucker?
Mr. President, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Do we have anybody? Well, I'll second that. So, do we need to do anything else? All in favor?
All right.
Say aye. Aye.
We have a
Tribute.
vice president.
Congratulations, sir.
And I'll make a motion, Mr. Packface to be, is it secretary?
It's treasurer or
Treasurer?
secretary. But treasurer is the other vacancy, and secretary is if replacement of Mr. Chambers is desired.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Just for clarity, was that, Mr. Pace, for secretary or treasurer?
Secretary.
Very
Okay, and I guess last position is treasurer. If anybody wants to.
I guess so.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And this is fun for gavel tapping. Okay, I think we're all set.
Thank you and congratulations.
Mr. President, should we put something on the agenda for next time regarding the absenteeism of our friend at Indian Lake, try to get another director appointed?
Yes, can we do that?
We can, so noted, we'll put that as an additional agenda item, and we'll contact Mr. Chambers and have that discussion with him as well, and I'll go through and coordinate with our legal counsel to ensure that they're in conversations.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. On to the next item is consideration and approval of the Southmost Regional Water Authority's financial audit report for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2025.
Good afternoon again, members of the board. My name is David Medrano. I'm filling in for our CFO, Mike Pettis, who's not here today. I'm here to introduce Jose Diaz, who is the Manager of Assurance Services for Burton McCumber, who will be going over the results of our financial statement audit for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2025.
Good afternoon, Board. Thank you for having us as your auditors one more year. I'm going to briefly go over our results for the audit. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. What button do I press to move? Just the next one? Okay. So, that's our engagement team. We have Ben Peña as our partner, and myself as the manager of the audit, basically the two people overseeing the audit process, and then our staff is listed there as well. These are our communications to governance. So, it's just what we're required to let you know of during the process. So, the areas there are new accounting policies adopted. The SRWA adopted GASB 101 compensated absences during the year. This is a new model that results in more robust estimate for compensated absences. It had no material effect for this entity, so it wasn't really a big, but it is a new policy that was adopted. Sensitive estimates in your financial statements. The depreciation of capital assets is a major sensitive estimate that's included. And then at the bottom would be our communication. So we had no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. Everything we ask is provided. Every question is answered. Access to third parties that we need, it's given. There's no uncorrected material misstatements noted that we know. There were no disagreements with management. Everything that we had was answered, like I said, right? So we were able to tie everything to that. And then there's no reportable findings on the financial statements or the audit process. And then this is going to be our opinions. These financials have two auditors' opinions. The first one is the financial statement audits. So it's an unmodified clean opinion, meaning that all the numbers and we take no exception in the numbers, right? So they were able to provide support, and we were able to trace, right? So there's nothing from us. The financial statements are presented fairly in immaterial respects. And the other one is our GAS report, Government Auditing Standards Report. It's a separate opinion for governmental entities related to internal controls and compliance for governmental entities. And I'm glad to report also a clean opinion in that one as well, right? So, and that would conclude my presentation, unless there's any other questions regarding.
Any questions?
No.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations to the staff. I'm sure we'll be saying the same thing next Monday, but good job.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and on to the final item, which is consideration and approval of, wait, no, we already did that. Oh, do we have to approve that?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion, Mr. President. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And last item now is discussion on the date, time of the next board meeting. I think normally we do it the first Monday of every month.
Right now, we have the SRWA board meeting on Monday, May the 4th.
Oh, man, I just know I'm going to hear that so much. But yeah, okay, sounds great to me.
Dressed as your favorite character.
There we go. I think
Yes.
that's going to be a requirement. Everybody come dressed as their favorite Star Wars character. Sounds great.
Somebody watching the stream
Yeah.
would be amused.
It'll confuse anybody who tunes in, yeah. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Time is 12:56.